It's tough for the young black farmer now, the black teenager that's in farming. A poor family can't afford it.
We should know that when we see a black farmer, that farmer, his legacy goes back well to the beginning of the inception of the United States.
Living in a diverse community, you should have diversity throughout. And that includes farming. You need to own something because they, more or less, they give you an ultimate right to be here. Someone can't tell you that you got to go. You got a right. You're born here. You have a right to be here, and you got land to prove it.
Nearly 4 million Africans were working as slaves by the 1860s. By today's standards, this slave labor created a multi-billion-dollar economy with the farming of crops like tobacco and cotton. Today, there are more than 3 million farmers in the U.S., but less than 2% are black. According to the Center for American Progress, between 1910 and 2007, black farmers lost 80% of their land because of discrimination.
The legacy is that the foundational infrastructure, the primary economic engine, the agricultural institution, the agricultural system started as a result of black farming hands. From 1867 till about 1920, there was the golden age, I like to think of it, the golden age of black farming happened during Reconstruction, just before Jim Crow, where black folks saved their money, they worked together as a family, as a cooperative, and they bought land. So the history started, the black land ownership started right after the enslavement period, up to 16 million acres. And that is a very significant period because that is a period that allowed black families to build communities. So to be able to have land meant you were free.
My family lived here for 60 years. My dad was a sharecrop farmer. My grandpa was a sharecrop farmer. I started farming with my dad and the family. I went to college, and then I went into service, and I come back and start farming again. When I came home, the veterans didn't have many programs that they could offer any veterans, but the black farmer, the black veteran had it. He had it rough in anything because he didn't have nothing to fall back on. Well, this was in the 70s and 80s. They know you didn't have the money at that time because it wasn't many black farmers. All of them were struggling, trying to make ends meet, borrowing equipment from each other, helping each other out. Then you might find a few white farmers that would loan you a tractor or help you do this or help you do that. But after that stage was over, it was hard.
By 1984, James McGill owned nearly 400 acres of farmland. But today, he doesn't own any land because of foreclosure.
When I tell people I'm a farmer, I get a couple reactions. First of all, being black, being a young black farmer in Oakland, I think the first thing people think about is, oh, are you growing cannabis? Like, not that I have anything against that, but I think it's so important that we have an and mentality. We need farmers that are also growing produce, because this is also very important that people are out there doing that. My family has not been farming, at least for several generations. And my only experience with farming is watching my grandmother plant some flowers in her front yard. And when I went to college, it wasn't until I got into environmental science that I found my passion. When I first started, I was actually growing in people's backyards because I knew access to land was a bit out of the question for myself. For me, it was hard because I didn't see too many black people in a position of land ownership. And the fact that land is so expensive, everything, it's a very daunting thing to think about. And there's so many barriers to entry to get into the agriculture field that I didn't really consider that it was even a possibility.
The U.S. government has acknowledged its part of the problem. In 1998, the U.S. Department of Agriculture released a report that said discrimination by the agency contributed to the decline of black farms. In 1999, thousands of black farmers settled a historic class action discrimination lawsuit against the USDA, in a landmark case called Pigford versus Glickman. The government agreed to pay out more than $1 billion, with thousands of black farmers receiving up to $50,000 each. The deal is one of the largest racial discrimination settlements in U.S. history.
The Pickford suit was based upon discrimination. This seemed to be consistent throughout the investigations that they had, that applying for loans and so they would say that they won't qualify for those things. And some even lost their land because of not having the right guidance at that time. $50,000 in today's economy is not, it's actually a drop in the bucket when we discussing farming at the scale in terms of production. $50,000 can buy you a tractor, but it cannot buy you land.
We got $50,000 apiece. And that was an insult, because when you needed $300,000 or $400,000 and they gave you 50, how could you survive on $50,000 to recover what you lost? I owed some bills out of the 50 we got, and then when you try to do something else, you had to live on it too. That's what helped my leg here. I fell in the pen one day, and I couldn't hardly get up. So I called my brothers, and they come pick me up. And I went to the VA to get help because I'm a veteran, Vietnam veteran, and because I didn't get hurt in service, they won't fix it. I have to do it on my own. Yeah. I'm struggling right now because I don't have enough pigs. The pig market have changed a lot, because 2 years ago I was selling pigs for $2.20, $2.25 a pound, and today we're getting 60 cents a pound. The business is bad right now.
My grandfather was a sharecropper. My father sharecropped with him, and so I got in on the tail end of that sharecropping system. My parents told me to get away from farming because they have that slavery attachment to it. You know, get away from it because it paid no money. We didn't get paid. I got back into it because I found out that really I enjoy farming, you know, because I think there's something spiritual about it. You know, because if you read the scripture, you know, we came from the dust, so we returned to it eventually. I went through college, went to Vietnam, came back, got married, you know, and then I started growing things for my own consumption. I'm Will Scott, current president of the African American Farmers of California. We set up the African American Farmers of California as an organization so that we could, you know, assist those who are in farming and learn how the regulations and so that we can be part of the productive system.
There's a spiritual connection that black farmers take to their practice that I found that leads them. It's so interesting is the people that farm, they love farming so much that they would endure that treatment, that they would keep going back year after year to get the things that they needed to grow food in spite of that.
There are still black farmers. There's not as many, but there are still black farmers. There needs to be a revolution in terms of getting young black people interested in farming. Eventually, we're gonna have to come to a point where we start owning land. Unless you're owning the land, then you're not benefiting like you should be of the increased value of your land. I appreciate every farmer, I really do, but we need representation, or else we're gonna feel like we're at the margins of this system, that we're somehow giving up some part of our culture. I enjoy telling people that I'm a farmer. I want as many people as possible to see that there are black people growing food.
The African American farm, we became invisible. Well, we're visible now to a certain extent, but we are small in numbers, and we also had to get around the discrimination that was affecting us but we survived, but some of us are still here. And as a man that's 78 years old, I'm still playing in the dirt. I still think that African Americans has a part to play in this food system. You know, not only the quality of it, but also the availability of it. I make enough to sustain myself. You know, I don't consider myself a successful farmer, and I guess I won't be that until when I can see the bottom line, whereas I'm making a lot of money. At this stage, I'm not making a lot of money, but I think that I'm in process of I'm on the verge of doing something. I'm a success in one fact is that I'm still here, still persevering, you know, and then it's just a matter of time when, you know, things come together.